to get started, looks like Andrew's not popping on quite yet. Let's go ahead and start with Heather. Is that okay, Heather? And then once Andrew comes on, then we'll let him, yeah, okay, we'll start with Heather. So Heather's been with us maybe about a year. She actually started up a mastermind group with us. I think we're on our third one. We had our third one on Friday. So if anybody's interested in getting into a little Facebook mastermind group, it's not anything crazy. It's just every other Friday at 9 o'clock. We run for an hour, and there's just some good energy in there. We've talked about scripts. We've talked about all kinds of things. We've done some role playing. So if you're interested in getting into a mastermind group, just let us know. We can send you over the invite. But and Heather's the one that runs that. With that said, let's go ahead and just chat with Heather real quick. You'll have to unmute though. There you are.
There you go. Hey, good morning.
Hey.
Close the chat.
How you doing? You have a good weekend?
Yes, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Yeah, we've been doing our bi-weekly mastermind, and it's been pretty awesome. One of the things about it that I like, and I'm kind of hoping to aim for, is just kind of a morning coffee amongst each other to be able to talk about what we're facing in our market and different strategies and things that we're using. And it's been pretty awesome hearing, where everybody is going through, where everybody's at, and kind of just feeding off of each other. And going into what Travis was saying earlier about, what I've done differently in my business, I wrote down 4 different things that I've been doing differently this month than before. I've always taken lead generation very seriously, but I think I was just unorganized in how I was doing it prior. And I had gone to a real estate retreat where we got some input on what top producers are doing. And I basically took what I heard them say and I made it fit my life. You wanted me to mention kind of lead generating too, Travis? You wanted me to
just briefly kind of, where you've been getting your leads, what's maybe been kind of successful for you. It seems like just this past, really since that Tom Ferry event, you've just been kind of on fire. Seems like it really got you like in a really good headspace, and you're just doing, it seems like you're just doing the necessary things, working old leads, new leads, from all over the place. So if you just want to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, so basically in my CRM, I have a database of about 700 names, different leads that have come in at different points. I've been licensed for 2 years now, so these 700 names are from the past 2 years. On top of that, I started doing different campaigns with Leo Luna. So we did buyer, seller. Anytime I do an open house, I do a marketing campaign with him there too. That's a really good way to get leads. I do things like OpCity, and I'm constantly bombarded with different companies who do lead generation. And I kind of try them here and there, if they have a good layout, just because you never know what's out there. And basically what I want to do is have a multiple sources of, leads coming in, because I notice, let's just say I focus on OpCity. There's times where OpCity is a little bit quiet. But then, over here on these Facebook leads, then those are coming in, and then vice versa. They kind of have their times where they're doing better than the others. There's Andrew. Good morning, Andrew. Okay, and then so basically after the Tom Ferry event, I came back, I reassessed, I looked at my business, and I looked at these 700 names, and I thought, what, there's money in here. There's people in here that I can help, and I'm not doing what I can to get, to reach those people, basically. So the 4 things that I wrote down is I wrote down that I changed my time management. I started asking pre-qualifying questions on the calls. I got to know my CRM, and I started tracking my work. And then just to briefly kind of break down just a little bit of each 4 of those things to kind of give a little bit of insight. When it came to time management, I know you speak about this a lot too, Travis, but getting in the right headspace in the morning and then at night, that's made like a huge difference in my life. Before, I kind of used to let my business run me. People
Yeah.
would call me all hours of the night. I would wake up, roll out of bed. I had a text message of somebody who wanted to see a house, and I'd get up and run. And I didn't like manage my time the way that I should have. So in the mornings, I wake up, have my coffee, get in the right headspace, and I have a dedicated time to doing my follow-up. So basically saying, okay, from 9 to whatever 12 or 9 to 1, I'm going to just sit here and start making calls and getting in contact with everybody. And then on top of that, when I do that, I usually, let's just say, opposite, you have to pick up the lead as soon as it comes in, so I'll have my phone on the ready right there so that I can pick up leads as they're coming in. So as I'm making my calls, I'm also getting leads in from whatever source that I'm using. So I'm getting the new leads and I'm following up with the old leads all at the same time. The second thing was pre-qualifying questions. I kind of felt like before I used to get on the phone, I kind of would just be like, hey, this is Heather, are you still looking for a house? What are you looking for? And I kind of wouldn't go further than that. I kind of just left it at that. I think a part of me was a little bit nervous about asking pre-qualifying questions. When you're talking to a stranger over the phone, they can get a little funny, hey,
Yeah.
what's your score? How much you make every year?
Could be a little awkward, yeah, trying to start up the conversation, for sure.
Yeah. And it was just kind of, finding a groove and a way to get to that point of the conversation and knowing what I was going in, to the conversation saying. So what I've been doing recently is asking those pre-qualifying questions. Every time I talk to a lead or a customer, basically, I put notes in there for me too. I try to kind of comment on something personal that they're going through. Maybe they got a new job. Maybe they told me a family member was sick, so they had put the search on hold. Maybe, they told me they wanted to downsize, their kids are going to school. So I try to comment on that. Hey, how's it going? I hope so-and-so is feeling better. Hey, kind of make it more personal so that they feel more comfortable with me too, versus just a stranger asking about where's your credit score?
Yeah.
Kind of trying to relate to them. And then, asking questions. So, what is your time frame? What are you thinking? And then a really big thing recently has been down payment assistance programs. Everybody's loving the down payment assistance program. And that tends to be a foot in the door when it comes to talking to, handing them off to Andrew. So what I'll do is I'll ask those questions. Finally, at the end of the conversation, kind of lean in towards the pre-approval process, let them know what's going to be expected of them. Hey, the lender is going to ask you, where your credit score at. They're going to ask you how much you make every year. Do you know what that is? And kind of get some information so that I know if the handoff is, if it's time for that handoff. Sometimes I might need a little bit more nurturing. So once I do that, basically I'll, call Andrew or text Andrew, say, hey, this is a new lead that we got in. If you can contact them, I'll put a Google Calendar together, put him into Sierra with the lead, and then I'll do a group text between Andrew, the lead, and myself. So that way we can all be connected and be on the same page. The third thing was knowing my CRM. Sierra was kind of new for me. I had came from KV Corp prior. So when I came over to Sierra, there was a lot of learning that I had to do. With Leo Luna, I was getting a ton of leads in every single day, and it was kind of hard to keep track of who was who and what was coming in. And I was putting on the auto drip campaigns and touch points, but I was losing my grasp on who was what. 700 people, it's kind of hard to be able to keep track of everybody. So I thought, okay, I need to figure out how to make this work. So basically, I just got in there and figured out, okay, what's the best system for me? So kind of what I ended up doing is I still want to have 3 touch points with them, which is like you say, Travis, a Lansinaire. I'm going to text them, I'm going to call them, I'm going to email them. So I have all that going at all times. However, what I did was I went into the drip campaigns and I turned off anything that asks me to call. I just turned those off. And I leave the text messages and I leave the emails just going. And then I'll go into the taskbar and I'll put myself a task of when to call them. That way I know, okay, when it's a new lead, I call every single day for like 3 or 4 days straight. I'll just call. If they don't answer, I'll set an appointment for me to call the following week, or a task for me to call the following week. And then I just kind of go from there until, I try to get a hold of them, or I try to, someone finally answers. I'll just put myself a task. So that way, it's not like before I would open up my task list and I saw like 120 tasks and I'm like, oh my God.
Overwhelming for sure.
Yeah, so now the tasks are my tasks. It's things that I put for myself, and it just kind of helped me have a better grasp on what I'm doing. What else? And then the fourth thing was tracking my work. Before I would sit down in front of the computer and I would just start making calls. And you know that the people on the other side of that, those calls are not always the nicest people. They don't always want to hear from you. So sometimes it just became draining. And I was like, man, I sat here in front of the computer all day and I have no idea. I didn't talk to anybody, or I didn't have any good conversations, or I'm just
Mm-hmm.
focused on the negative versus the positive. So by tracking my calls, tracking how many people answer the phone, tracking how many people I'm able to hand over to Andrew for pre-qualification, it's helped me look at my business and say, hey, there was some good things that happened today. I have this person in the, talking to Andrew. I have this person getting pre-qualified. I have whatever. It's kind of really helped. I think Andrew had shared the numbers, but basically last month I made 400 calls. I had 90 out of those 400 calls, 97 people answer the phone. And whether they were good or bad conversations, they answered the phone. 6 of those people I was able to connect with the lender with Andrew. And then I think I did like 3 showings from there. But what ended up happening was, okay, now I have numbers. Now I know that, I think it was 28% of the people that I call are going to actually answer the phone. And then I know 6% of the people who answer the phone are going to want to talk to the lender. And then out of those people, how many people are going to probably actually even fill out the application to do the loan. So it kind of helped me plan my business and have an idea of what to expect for next month. So
Okay.
that was last month. I did my first week of this month. And I think I did 80 calls this week. And I already had 19 convos, but this week I was able to get 5 pre-approval phone calls set up with Andrew. So
Nice.
I saw, okay, if I do this much, this is what my result's going to be. So let me push for this. So I applied what I learned last month to this week's numbers.
Okay.
So
And
knowing
400 sounds like a ton of calls, but actually, if you break that, now we're talking 7 days a week. But if you break that down, it's only 13 to 14 calls a day. It's really not that much,
it's
And if you
about
want to take the
25.
weekends off, you're looking at more like 20, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't think I've ever called that many people in a month, so it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I basically, exactly what you're saying, I broke it down from, okay, this is what I did last month. Let's break it down from month to week to day to kind of make it seem more realistic and more doable, because making that many calls sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But breaking it down, I want to say about 25 calls a day. Some days it goes a little bit longer, because if I can't get a hold of somebody, I kind of push myself. It's like a personal thing. I'm like, no, I need to get somebody on the phone.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a little bit more. But I mean, even just this week having those goals, I already noticed that. I mean, last month I had 6 pre-approval conversations. This week alone, I'm already at 5.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing the difference in that.
Nice.
And I think that's about it. Those are the main things that I'm doing. But I know Andrew and myself have some people who are in the pre-approval process that look pretty good. And I believe it's going to be the next, my goal is to have, at least 1 to 2 sales a month. That's where personally I would be happy. So I know that we're on track to doing that for next month. So it's pretty good.
Awesome. It sounds like you're putting in the time and the effort, and you have a regiment now, and it's really just, making your business take off for sure. I mean, I see it, definitely. So that's why I wanted to get you on today, because it's not like you've been in the business for 20 years or anything like that. I mean, you're in your second year. I think you're probably getting close to ending your second year, but, and your business is really starting to thrive. I think in another 6 months, you're going to really be surprised at how well you're doing with what you're doing now. So awesome insight. Thank you for coming on.
I think if there's one takeaway that you guys got from everything she said, was how much better things are for her when she's working with me. So,
Yeah, very true. Could agree with that, Andrew.
That is the best takeaway. But there's I mean, the amount of stuff that she is doing, and if we go back to, I was a little late, but the one thing that she mentioned on her tasks and her follow-up, which ties directly into sort of what I sort of am going to share and what I was going after to find out, is that if she makes a call and they don't answer, she just recycles that number and that lead for the next day. Just 1, 2, no matter what, if they didn't answer, she just puts them on for the next time she's going to do her follow-up. And that's a direct comparison to what I think I've experienced with, I opted into a loan program through LendingTree, which is, probably one of the biggest lead selling programs on the internet. And the amount of, and the reason I did is because I wanted to see how intense the follow-up was. And I had no idea what I was going to experience. And, by, let's say this one lead that Heather has, maybe that person opted into 1 or 2 different things for the period of time that they were looking at homes. And if they happen to be 3 landing pages that are run by a brokerage or a realtor, they might get, of those 3, they might get 1 follow-up. Maybe if it's Heather, she's going to follow up until they call, which is more than most will. But let's say if you're on Zillow and you opt into one of their forms or interest there's a good chance that those are being sold to at least 5 or 6 realtors. Now, I'm going to use the same statistic that most realtors give up after 1 or 2 tries. Heather pointing out, a lot of her calls that she has going out don't turn into anything day 1 or day 5, but she just keeps putting it back on. And the truth is, no, at that point, what's really interesting is no one's told her, no, I'm not interested. They haven't even answered. So she hasn't even had the opportunity to speak with them yet. So no harm, no foul. It's just another phone number to call, in a day, a week, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. And that's interesting. But backing up to my situation and what I experienced is, talk about the 3 types of, contact. I immediately got phone calls, like probably a dozen within 10 minutes, probably. And then that kept going throughout the day. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, still getting calls, much less, which meant it's not automated anymore, in my opinion. That was now going, by day 3 or 4, it was on someone else's desk, that maybe in the scenario of what I was dealing with and the level of business that these companies are chasing, I bet you they went to, as the days go away, we're 2, 3, 4 days out, that lead might get handed off to a junior associate, a newer agent, a newer loan officer, because it's not as interesting. But I was still getting phone calls, a week out. I'm 10 days out, and I've got emails this morning from these, different companies offering to fulfill my need for the type of loan that I want. Again, 10 days out, I'm still getting follow-up. It's automated. I know it's automated because I can read through the script and understand what it is. Text message at the same time. I'm getting tons of text messages. Now, I use a Google Voice number, so kind of the email and the voicemail go to the same place, or the text message and the voicemail goes to the same place. But I can see it happening, in real time, and it's incredible. And so, what I think happens, the amount of automated follow-up is massive. I would say 80% of all the follow-up, from what I can figure out, was at least 7 different companies. So they must have sold that to 7 different companies in my area, or for that type of product. Again, I don't know how they set that up when you sign on, but at least 7 different companies. Probably, day 1, I bet you I got at least 4 to 5 different barrages of follow-up effort for this one program. And you know, it wasn't like $1 million house or anything else. It was just a transaction. They don't know anything of what I wanted to do, except I potentially wanted to do business. And at the same time, you know, the offers weren't really there. It was short and sweet. Hey, call me back about this thing you're interested in X. So, you know, there was no magic involved. They're very, very simple, very business direct. And that to me made sense for this type of lead. It's a direct response type of follow-up system. It's not about us building rapport. You know, they don't know me, so there's no reason for them to try and befriend me or, you know, friend me on Facebook. We haven't done anything. We haven't even talked yet. You know, if it was, you know, at the same time, I'm getting the emails with still not offers of anything. They're not changing what they're doing. They're just simply repetitively sending back, hey, are you interested in what you asked about? Are you interested in this home? Are you interested in this loan? Are you interested in this? They kept it very specific to the need that I opted in for, and very short to, hey, do you want to do business? We can help you. And that, I think, is the most significant thing when we go back to what Heather was describing about how she sort of managed through her leads and her daily schedule, was all she's doing is trying to connect. And if she's not connecting, she's just putting that on to the next one, the next day, and going back into it. And, you know, then once she connects, you know, there's a small step process that she's able to, you know, have the conversation, then a little bit deeper conversation, get some information, and then pass them on to me, which is I mean, that in itself is a huge success, in my opinion, especially for these types of leads. What I believe with my scenario, with, you know, opting into this massive lead gen follow-up and using myself as a average California, you know, person that might be interested in real estate or a mortgage, that the type of follow-up that I was getting from especially these national brands is probably some of the best compared to a single realtor landing page, because it's managed by a busy human, a person that we know that, you know, typically doesn't have the best follow-up programs. I know I don't have the ability to do as much as Heather. I'm probably 10, 20% is, you know, when I would consider how much follow-up and effort she's doing. But I can tell you this, she is so busy compared to, you know, some of the other, even just Rise Realty agents that I'm in regular communication with, because of this effort. And that motive, that forward movement, that action is going to turn into a lot of business. But, you know, staying focused, we're looking at, you know, online leads, you know, offers, specific types of offers. Someone interested in our offer that we are allowing you guys to use, like a free home appraisal with the purchase. I just got a follow-up this morning from the 2-1 buy down offer, inquiring about that. You know, we have, you know, the down payment assistant ads are out there. So those are 3 specific things. Those are the, if I get a lead for that, the only thing I want to relay to that person over and over and over is, hey, I can help you with down payment assistance. I can help you with 2-1 buy down. I can help you with a free appraisal if that's what you need. And there's no reason at this point to sort of throw out in more offers and things, because I don't even know what they need yet. They haven't even necessarily responded. So we just keep kind of pushing back that same thing. Maybe it turns into nothing. We don't know. You know, that's the hard part. But it's the constant repeat of answering the question that they had. And for me, why I believe that is so strong is because if I was really looking for the loan that I asked about, if that was a need of mine, sooner or later in the last 10 days, I would have just answered yes and probably started working with one of these companies. You know, being an average person, I wouldn't have known what to necessarily ask for. I might have had a little bit of information, but I would have jumped on the phone finally and started working towards solving my problem with one of these companies. not worrying about what company necessarily they were with, who they were specifically. I didn't need to know anything about them. I just was answering the opportunity to have my problem solved, you know? So until we get to the point of we're actually working with them, we don't necessarily need to worry about too much other information of what we are, what we're doing, our, you know, our own, let's say, track record of success or experience. None of that matters until we get, you know, way down the road past I'm potentially going to do business with somebody, you know. So it was really interesting. And I found out that I think that in general, what's most important that I think we could take away from this is this type of massive follow-up effort. And even using just Heather's example of her own, is this is what the general public is used to. This is what everyone else is doing. So we shouldn't be nervous that we're doing too much. You know, don't think you're bothering these people. They are used to opting into ads from things that they're interested in and having people follow up with them. They don't know who we are so much, but they're used to that now. So that pressure for, you know, you feeling like you might be bothering someone should not exist any longer. Maybe a couple of years ago, you know, when this type of social media or direct response offer follow-up was starting out, and it's probably and honestly, this has been going on forever. It's just much more intense on the real estate side now. But I don't think there's any reason to have call or lead follow-up reluctance, because it's the norm now.
Yeah, most definitely. Even the leads that we're giving out as a company, those are opt-in leads. You know, we're running a Facebook ad and it's got some sort of offer in it, and they're clicking. They have to fill out a little bit of information. They have to answer a couple questions, and then the lead comes over. So, you know, if you're just calling once or twice, you know, it's probably not going to be very successful for you. I know for a fact, you know, some of these conversions that Heather has, these are older leads, you know, that she's been following up with, and there's usually a nurture process when it comes to online leads, whether it's social media or Google or anything else. So you just have to keep that in mind, and you do have to get started, though. I mean, you know, there will be some that are right now kind of, I want to take action, but for the most part, they're going to be a nurture type lead. So if you start today, you know, in a couple months is when you're going to start getting a better response rate to some of these leads, depending on what the pitch is. So, you know, like Andrew said, it's just don't be nervous to call them that you're calling them too much. You should be nervous that you're not calling them enough, really. Because then, especially if you're putting out marketing dollars, it's just going to waste, really.
So Paul and I are in escrow right now for a lead. It was a company lead from Rise Realty. The lead had first came in March, and I think not until July, I believe it was, did he finally answer. And in July, his response was still negative, like, oh no, I'm waiting for the market to calm down. But I was able to create a conversation from that, and we're in escrow now. And it was only, you know, a month from that conversation. The lead came in March. We had a conversation in July, and we're in escrow today. So it's like, you know, these leads come in, they may not be ready at that very moment. They may be kind of hesitant, but, you know, that's just a prime example of they will be, you know, if you just reach out.
Yeah. It's database.
Good one too, because I was going to bring that up, and it was, you know, that particular lead started out, Heather sent it to me, and it started out just before I ended up in the hospital. And as I was in the hospital, I was still answering texts and email and doing some busy work, but in general, I didn't feel like doing a whole lot. And all of a sudden, you know, this guy that we had both Heather and I realized, okay, this guy's interested, but he's not motivated. All of a sudden, something switched. And he was responding. All of a sudden, his responses changed to much quicker with much more intent. And it was very obvious in the email, I'm ready to do something. And I on the side, I contacted Heather. I go, hey, this guy wants to do something now. I gotta move it to someone else. So I quickly moved it over to Paul, and they're in escrow. It was clear what had happened over that period of time. Some things changed for him as Heather was in communication with him, and we caught on to that, and we made sure it moved forward. I have another one I'm actually probably going to pre-approve today. That was what's her name? It's Annalie. Is that I don't the spelling.
Yeah.
Their name's Annalie, not to be confused with our Anahee. But well, that was an old lead too, right? And she had wanted a whole different, something completely different than what she's interested in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and she was talking with Heather about something different loan products as well. Now this particular person, she's rather savvy. She's been doing her own research on the side since she's been in contact with Heather. And even speaking with me, she's reiterating things that her and Heather spoke about. So those conversations that she is having, or that you're having with those buyers or potential leads, if they are of value, they're being remembered. And that was, that was nice for me to see, like, okay, she actually remembered what Heather and her talked about, and she used that. Hey, this is what we were doing. This is what I want to do now, and here's the changes needed.
Yeah.
And,
So with her, if it's any consolation to anybody listening, I know sometimes with Op City, we get, leads that come in that might not seem the greatest. When her lead came in, she was looking for a manufactured home, and I helped her for maybe a couple, like 2 weeks. We were trying to find something, and then she just she stopped. She was like, you know what, we're about to have a child. I'm going to kind of put this on hold. And I said, are you okay with me reaching out to you in a couple of months? Let's kind of see where you are then, and if you're ready. So same thing, put the task on, wrote down that she's going to have a baby. 3 months, I actually probably waited about 2 months. I called her, hey, have you had the baby yet? Congrats. You guys might be ready for a new home now since you have the baby. She's like, actually, and then that went into the down payment assistance program conversation. I was able to connect her with Andrew, and now she's looking for an actual home instead of a manufactured home. So it was a lead that came in that maybe you would have thought like, oh, it's a manufactured home, I don't want to, deal with that. But it's like, when people are inquiring about the homes, they're kind of just filling out what's out there and what they can afford, and kind of just getting numbers and doing their own research. So you us as an agent, it's good to just take whoever we can have those conversations and get down to the meat of what they're really looking for and how we can help them, instead of just kind of like brushing off the lead because maybe we don't want to work on a manufactured home or a land listing or a rental. There's been times when people reach out to me to rentals and it turns out they want to buy. So it's just kind of, you just have to have those conversations with everybody that comes in.
Yeah, it's really just having conversations. And I always try and preface when I set up agents in Op City, kind of what the expectations are, and not to really look at, when I was doing the Op City program, I wouldn't even look at what the parameters were of the lead coming through. I just clicked accept, and whatever it was, and I would talk to the person and find out, but I say it over and over, just because they're applying, they're inquiring on a manufactured home. A lot of these are first time buyers, and they're just clicking on the cheapest thing they can. They have no idea. You start talking to them about land leases and other stuff, and they're like, ooh, I don't know about that. But they can still qualify for a house. You just kind of get them in the right direction. So that's a lot about Op City, is just knowing how to move them over into what they actually really want, if they're going to qualify. So
yeah, with Travis, what he's talking about, like for me, I love like to know how things work and the process. I don't want to do everything so much, but I like to know how it works. And with over the years with lead gen follow up, I always wanted to know what the ad was, what they opted in for, so I could cater to that particular, kind of conversation, that particular buyer. And not too long ago, I actually was watching a little, I think it was like a Facebook reel or something like that, one of those little social media, happened to be two influencers that I know personally having a podcast together. One of us is a lender, the other one's a real estate coach. And he was talking about how they're spending thousands of dollars on these lists of people for their LOs to call. And that he was like, yeah, we're trying to figure out what's the right script to call back. And he's like, we want to try to sift and sort through it. And the real estate coach was, he's like, look, he goes, let me ask you this question. He goes, how many close friends do you think you have? 100, 200, 300? He goes, he says, let's just use 100 for simple math. He goes, okay, so you have 100 friends. How many of those 100 friends do you think have been on Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin in the last 90 days, potentially looking at homes? And he said, I'll bet you 75, 80 of them. Okay. He goes, okay, well, you 75% of your friends have probably been on, a home search portal in the last 90 days. That's a fair assumption, right? He goes, great. Okay. We've agreed that. Don't worry about coming up with the best script ever. Get your list. And when you call them back, just say, hey, it looks like you opted into one of our ads looking for a new home. Are you still interested in a new house? Or a home loan, whatever is key to that particular thing. But the idea is, hey, we saw that you opted into an ad looking for a new home. Did you need a home loan or the house? And his whole reasoning was because we've just agreed that 75% of the people and we'll just use the people that each of you know or we know as the average, have probably done this in the last 90 days. So you're not lying to anyone. And there's a chance that 25% of them haven't. But of those 25%, there could be still 30 to 50% of them that might be interested. So now we're really at of all the 100 people that you might know, or let's say, in Heather's scenario, call today, 75 of them might have opted in at some point, So it's really that simple. We're not lying. We're just making an assumption. Hey, I'm sure that in the last 90 days, you probably looked at a house online. Are you still interested in that? We don't know. So it's super easy to, come up with this average to where you're not so specific. And then you just kind of go, great, let them talk. They're either not interested right now and you just move on to the next one. They're maybe interested or they're really interested and they want more information right now. That's the same. You had the exact guy that was like, I opted in 1 moment ago, looking at 123 Main Street, and it's the right price, and I have a contract written. You're like, oh, great, let's go. It doesn't matter. It's the same idea.
You're just playing the numbers.
Yeah, and especially in that, we're sifting and sorting by creating a specific offer that draws the attention. But once you get past that, we're looking at numbers because there's a lot of people that aren't doing anything. I mean, I went to the gym this morning. I came home and I went out to walk a little bit. And both of those trips, I went by 2 different Starbucks. I'm here at home. I drank a bunch of coffee today. There was a good chance within me driving past those 2 Starbucks twice that I might have stopped. They don't know. But I am interested in buying coffee at some point. Starbucks doesn't know, and they don't do any outward calling or anything like that. But my point is, even if they're not ready right now, if they have opted into something, there is a chance that they are going to do something now or later. So having that open-ended, hey, can I call you back in 2 months and just check? Great.
They almost always say yes. They almost always say yes. If you have the conversation, they say they're not quite ready. You say, mind if I follow up with you in 6 weeks or however the conversation went? They almost always say yes, and then you just put it in your little taskbar. You call them back. They're impressed because you actually remembered. And then it's almost like they don't have a choice but to call you or to talk to you then because they gave you permission to call them at that time frame. So.
And one of the best options in that scenario is if you're saying that, hey, great, I'd like to call you back in, in the next 2 or 3 months, because the market's always shifting and our preferred lenders are continuously coming out with new beneficial programs for you. So now you've hit with the interest of, hey, the market's changing, which you might have the answer to that solution. And they're worried about that. Oh no, what's going to happen next? And then you're offering at the same time, you're saying, hey, I want to update you on what's happening with money, which is again, the big hook for them being able to do anything.
Cool. Well, this has been awesome. I'm good. I have a quick presentation and I'm going to knock it out in 15 minutes. So let's roll into that really quick. I really got, I appreciate this feedback and this insight. This is what, some of us are doing, and it works. And I'm actually going to reinforce that a little bit with what I have to talk about, which is, how can you break into the 8% of realtors? And we're going to see what the 8% of realtors is here in just a minute. So, from day one, we hear, that 80 to 90% of new agents just don't make it in this business in their first couple years of getting licensed. And so, that's really dismal numbers, and it doesn't have to be that way. So, let's look at a couple of statistics here. So there are about 1.6 million realtors in the US. And we're not talking total licensees, we're talking just realtors, people that pay NAR. About 212,000 of those realtors in the United States live here in California. So it's an extremely high number. 20% of realtors have had their license for a year or less. So right now we've got a huge influx coming in. I talked to a lot of new licensees or people who are in process of getting their license, probably 3 or 4 times a week at least. The percentage of realtors who make real estate their primary source of household income increases within years of experience. So 24% of realtors reported real estate as their primary source of income. For realtors with 16 plus years of experience, the number was 33. So basically, the longer you stay in this business, the more money you start making, and eventually a lot of realtors end up going full-time, and that is also their primary source of income in their household. Now, these are the real numbers here. I love these. So the average income for real estate agents who work less than 20 hours a week is $21,000 annually. So if you're putting in less than 20 hours a week, you're probably only going to close about 2 sales, depending on your region. The average income for real estate agents working 60 hours a week is $145,000 annually. So agents that, full-time, this is their primary source, they're making 6 figures easy every year. It's probably more depending on the region. If you're in a high-cost region, that number is probably double, at least, if you're putting in that kind of hours. So the last 2 statistics pretty much sum up the rate of failure is so high for most agents entering the business. Many newly licensed agents start in the business as part-time and dedicate very little time to actually building their business up. So, maybe they still have a job or something like that. They're putting in less than 20 hours a week. So, 20 hours a week. So yeah, they're only going to make a sale or 2 because the amount of work they're putting in is reflective of how much they're earning. So others do hop in an industry, all in, they quit their job or they're going to quit their job, but they fail to have a plan and proper mindset to be self-employed and self-motivated. I see that a lot. They're relying on a broker or a team or something like that to just, send me leads, and the leads are at a horrible split. I hear that some of these leads are coming in at 30% to the realtor themselves, and after they've done all that work. How are you going to sustain your first couple of years of business making 30% of the sales that you're making? Yeah, maybe you're making 3 or 4 or 5 for the year, but it's a horrible percentage that they're getting. So that also leads to a high failure rate. So let's look at the sales numbers real quick. So with about 212 realtors in California alone, it's competitive here. We know that. I think it's like 1 in 9 or something in the US is a licensed realtor here in California, or California accounts for 1 in 9 nationally realtors. So in 2021, California, there was 536,000 homes that sold. So that's not even 3 homes per agent selling. So obviously there was plenty of agents out there that sold nothing in 2021, or maybe one or two, and then others that sold way more than three. So the ratios, you can see that works. And again, it's reflective of how much time and effort they're putting in. So I found, everybody's asked me which way is the market going. Here's some predictions I found. There's, everybody's saying different things out there. Here's some not so good predictions from First Tuesday, who's, they do continuing education and pre-licensing courses and stuff like that. So according to them, 2019's pace of sales, which was only 437,500 for that year, will not be sustained this year in 2022. So they're predicting that we in California are going to have less than 437,000 homes sold. So this is going to bring the average home sold down for realtor to right around 2, maybe a little less, right? So, I mean, that sounds kind of dismal. They predict the housing market will see declining sales volume in 2022 to 2024, with prices bottoming out around 2025. So they're predicting that prices are still going to be sliding over the next couple of years, and the sales volume will be at a lower level than it has been. And that there's a noticeable absence of real estate speculators, and they're predicting that's going to stay true until around 2024. There's a lot of them sitting on the sidelines right now. So it's clear that 2022's undeclared recession is cooling both buyer and seller attitudes. I mean, we have all felt this year for sure. So what's a positive spin on that? So if the last recession taught me anything, it's that there will be a lot of agents leaving the business, either partly or fully, and returning to the workforce. For agents out there putting in the hours every week and making necessary shifts in their business plan, it's most likely going to get better for you, and you're going to make some really big strides towards becoming a player in your local market. This is where Heather is at right now. She's putting in the time, she's adjusted her plan, she's marketing towards the right people. She's in her second year. She's at her tipping point, if statistics stand true, of either failing or succeeding. It's clear she is heading towards succeeding. So those that are putting in the effort and the time necessary, those are the ones that are going to be breaking into or remaining in the 8% of realtors. So what is the 8% of realtors? So if you've been on social media this week, or this past week, you probably saw this floating around in groups, stuff like that. I saw it in the mastermind, I think, maybe it's Heather's. NAR has 1.6 million members as of June 30 this year. As of June 30 this year, 1.3 million of those members have only sold 3 homes or less. So only 8% of the realtor population have sold more than 4 houses in the first 6 months of this year. Those numbers aren't that great. It's not 80-20, right? So if you're wanting to be full-time, you want to make 80, 100 grand a year, it's not 80-20 rule here. We're talking 8% basically to get into that realm. So how do you do that? So, talking to the agents every day, almost everybody, they say, I want to make 100 grand this year in business. In reality, most are content with 60 to 80. They have a working spouse, whatever. These agents are basically the 8% out there making it happen. 8 or more home sales per year, depending on your region and kind of where your sales volume is, or I mean your average price point. So if you're one of those realtors looking to be in the 8% club, but you're not yet, you have to take a serious look at those statistics from above. How many hours are you putting in on your business of actual work? Not, okay, I'm going to sit down at the desk, and then you're sidetracked with, scrolling Facebook and stuff like that every 10, 15 minutes. That's not actual work. What Heather's doing is actual work. She's got a plan, she has a regiment, she sits down, she goes through the numbers, and she has her CRM open, and those that don't answer, she updates tasks for next week or tomorrow, whatever it is. So that is actual work. So if you're putting in less than 20 hours a week, you can plan to only make a sale or two this year and earn about 21,000. If you're working 60 hours a week, you're probably closing a sale a month or better and earning an average of 145 or better. So based on these statistics, you can put in about 30 or 40 hours a week of actual work and still be in the 8% club and earn $80,000 to $100,000 performing about 8 sales. So that is very doable. If you're wanting to be in this business full time, 30, 40 hours, I consider full time more than 40 hours, but if we're looking at employers, 30 to 40 hours these days is full time. So, that's putting in 30 to 40 hours of actual work is going to net you the money that you want to make, 80 to 100 grand a year. Easy. How are you going to break into the 8%? So if you attended my mindset webinar 2 weeks ago, this is just some very basic stuff. I took 3 points from that of how you're going to do it. And this is what Heather is doing and was doing. She shifted her mindset to be focused on abundance instead of scarcity and fear. It's not, I made 400 calls and didn't get anything. She's focusing on, well, I made 100 or 400 calls. I talked to 97 people and 6 of those I got over to pre-approval. So, this week or last, her first week of this month is already looking much better. So, I mean, she's already beating what she did the entire month last month because she's dialing stuff in. So she's in that mindset of looking at the actual results and saying, wow, this is working. The fact is your business cannot be in a healthy state of mind unless your mindset is. So you're constantly focusing on what you don't have. The market's bad, it's crashing, this and that. I mean, your business isn't going to reflect abundance when you're thinking that and believing that. So the market shift is an opportunity for you to become a player in your local market. Tell yourself this, write it down, whatever you got to do, this is your opportunity. There's, 90% of the realtors evidently are working less than 20 hours a week and they're not putting in the effort. All you have to do is put in the time and you will become a player in your market. Get into alignment. This is something I talked about a little deeper a couple weeks ago. What is alignment? It's setting the intention, giving it attention, and doing strategic behavior. So, and that's exactly what Heather is doing. She has a goal in mind. That's her intention, how much money or sales that she wants to make. She's giving it attention. She's putting in the hours every week. And she's doing the strategic behavior. She's putting in the hours and she has a plan and she's following that plan. So the vast majority of agents out there are still using the same marketing plan they've been doing for the past couple of years, and the results are decreasing. The market has changed and we have to change with it. So we have to listen to what the market is saying and search out the data on who is buying and selling. And this is simple stuff. It takes just a couple minutes to look at the data. It's all in MLS, do a Google search, whatever you want to do. But we just saw the statistics here stating there's a noticeable abundance of absence of real estate speculators, investors. So stop marketing them if you're having lackluster results. They're not the ones that are in the market heavy right now. If your intention is to be in the 8% of realtors, then you have to give your attention to strategic behavior of focusing on the people who are in the market. Who is that? People that are relocating out of the state. With 2021, there's 300 something thousand people that exited the state. How many of those are actual homeowners? There's a percentage there. What is it going to be this year? I think it's double, but I've seen people predict that it's actually 1 million people are leaving the state this year. And those are people that you can be connected with. Maybe they're going to be buying a house. Maybe they're a renter here, but they plan on buying in the state that they're going to. You're having that conversation. If you've been out there networking with out-of-state realtors, or even if you haven't, you can maybe get a referral fee there for one thing, if you do that right. But otherwise, market towards homeowners, find the homeowners that are looking to relocate. They're thinking about it. They're looking at other states. First-time buyers, they're heavy in the market right now too. This is their time to shine. The multiple offer situations have really, they're not gone 100%, but they've really waned. So, targeting first-time home buyers, people with low or no down payment, they are responding to ads and messaging. So go towards them. They may not be your perfect client, but this is who's responding right now. If you want to make 8 sales this year, start focusing on the first-time home buyers. If you want to take more listings, start focusing on people relocating out of the state. So don't make it harder than it needs to be. Talk to these people 30, 40 hours a week. You will sell homes. Guaranteed, you'll sell homes. And then the third thing is make the commitment daily, not just the hourly commitment every day, but also commit to yourself to get into and stay in a healthy mindset, whatever that is, setting your attention, giving it attention, implementing your strategic behavior, change all the negative self-talk into positive self-talk. You saw Heather gave a great example, this isn't working, so on and so forth. She wrote down the numbers and realized actually what I'm doing is working, and now she's dialing it in. And then focus on the outcome, focus on that goal of being in the 8%, and then you will get there by implementing your strategic behavior. A couple ideas on what you could be doing, and that's something a lot of people have challenges with. Okay, where do I start? I try to add value to my business every day. So what is it? That could be something little tiny. It doesn't have to be some big, huge thing. It could be something tiny. Did I get a review from our team today that we could post on Google that helps us recruit more agents? That's adding value. That's a very tiny thing that I can do today to add value to my business. You could do the same thing, start building up your reviews, research a new development in your area and talk about it. Preview a new listing in your community. Well, what does that do? Well, if you go and preview, people love to see weird stuff in homes, great views, kitchen remodeling trends, stuff like that. Quick photo, quick video. Hey, what do you think about this kitchen trend? Post that on your social media. That's what previewing a listing can do. It gives your sphere something to talk about. It looks like you're out there doing business. You're getting to know what the listings are out there. Create a video or reel. Call some FSBOs and expireds. They're actually coming back around. Do some circle prospecting. Sign up for referral services, no cost leads. I have a list of them if you want to get signed up with them. Places like OpCity, Redfin partner, their partner program. There's a ton of them out there now, and they're all pay at closing models instead of pay up front. Send out some thank you cards. Sign up to be a volunteer. Get involved in your community. You'd be surprised how much business you can get just from volunteering. Put together a seminar or webinar. I'm starting to see a lot of these come around. First-time buyer seminars, VA seminars, investing seminars, maybe a little bit. Depends on who you're targeting that to. That's kind of a tough one in this market right now. Host an open house. There's leads there. I've been hosting open houses at my listing, and you'd be surprised, about half people coming in don't have a realtor. They just drove by and saw the sign. Attend a networking event, whether it's with peers or just people that you associate with. Attend a class at your board, further your education. Get certified in something. Maybe you want to get a different designation that you put on your email signature. Start targeting that audience. Meet up in person with one of your top 50 contacts. Those are the people that are going to send you the referrals. Those are the easiest business you're going to get. Work towards a new revenue stream that complements your business. NMLS, insurance, doing loans. You can have a whole nother revenue stream just with getting your loan license that you can't have with having a real estate license. So, consider maybe doing that. There will be more refinances available and things like that. That's a different conversation. Maybe someone doesn't want to buy or sell the home, but they do want to refinance their home. Well, you could be that person to help them. So, I mean, really the list goes on. This is just to kind of, you know, get your brain going a little bit, but basically every day is a new opportunity to make contact for who is looking to buy or sell. So it's really up to you to make those contacts. You see Heather, you see her results. She's making the effort to make those contacts. So sorry, we went a little long today. I thought it was going really well. So I just wanted to, you know, make it a sharing kind of webinar for everybody. And, you know, if you want to jump in the mastermind group, hop in, let Andy or me or Heather know that you're interested in joining. We do it every 2 weeks. It's nothing super crazy. That's about all I have for today. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it and you'll have an exciting week. So reach out if you need anything, and I will talk to you guys. Well, actually, we have Wednesday webinar this week, so we'll be sending out the notification on that here shortly. So join us on the Wednesday webinar too. We'll go a little deeper onto some things, and we'll have Leo presenting on that one. So make it a great day, and we'll talk to you later.